for all of the advice channels about career, about managing your job, and so many other things like this, one of the things that I've not seen discussed is the idea that you should not trust your manager. Now, this was something that, I did not think needed to be made until, to be honest, the past few months. But it's something that, as I've continuously experienced, I only become more convinced that it's true. So let's just go right into it. This is Mel's Musings, a series where I've talked a lot about life and self-improvement, but it can cover a wide variety of topics, and today is going to be an example of that. And while this is basically career advice, it's also the type of advice that is not like about positive and what you can do for yourself. Like, it's one of the things that is like important. It's important to know, because to make the correct moves, it's extremely important that, you avoid making the wrong ones. And I think when it comes to managers, this is one of the easiest ways that you're misled, and one of the, I think, biggest ways you can save yourself from bad situations that you may get yourself in. So let's just talk about it right now. Never trust your manager. Why should you not trust them? They are put into a company to supervise, oversee, ensure that everything is running well, ensure that people are moving along nicely in the way that they want to. Managing operations, it's a job that has a lot of responsibility, a lot of requirements, and there's a lot of trust and expectation placed by the corporation that that person is going to get it done. So naturally, they're a leader figure. Seems like someone you should be looking up to for guidance, for counsel, for help, for advice. But the reality is that this couldn't be further from the truth. And, I'm sure probably by this point, even though I haven't really said much, there's going to be like comments or ideas about like, oh, I had this amazing manager. Oh, this manager was so good to me. And yeah. Eventually, a good manager is going to slip through the cracks. And if you were the person who was in that situation, I envy you, because they seem to really be few and far between. What is far more likely is the scenario that I'm going to discuss. So with that out of the way, the first myth that needs to be dispelled is the idea that a manager is actually a leader. Those are two very different things, and if you've ever been under a bad manager, that is something that you will almost immediately be able to distinguish. A lot of managers are not actually leaders. They are put into a management position because that is the only way for you to advance in a lot of companies. When you are ready for the next level, but you're already at the highest performing worker role, it's not that there are tiers and levels of, ways to do that work. It's that instead you become an overseer, you become a project manager, you become these things. And so there are people who either through their seniority, being good at the job, nepotism, there's a lot of different ways that it can come about. But you'll find out that a lot of managers are not actually equipped to be leaders, and some of them can be, but the vast majority are not. They're also just a worker alongside you who is not tending to anyone's responsibilities or needs, or even necessarily looking at the best interest of their crew. And the reason for that is actually extremely sinister. And this is also why even if a manager gets along well with you and you like them as a person with how they interact with you, that does not translate to the actual work aspect. So you still should not trust someone in management just because they're like, they're friendly with you and you have a good thing going there. The reason is that corporations are themselves parasitic organisms. Because think about what a corporation is. It is a non-personal entity. It extracts resources from and uses people to extract resources from and use other people. That is just inherently parasitic for everyone involved. Now, if you are being offered a service that is good enough, you're being offered compensation that is good enough on the worker end, and the other is for the customer end, then you as a person may benefit from that. And that is true, but that comes not from the identity of the corporation, but it just comes from the product, which is largely separate. The thing is that corporations are constantly min-maxing how they can pay you the least amount while getting the most amount of work out of you. And they do this through all kinds of nefarious, exploitative means. And likewise with the customer, especially recently. Of course, this is a very US-based conversation, so, for those who can't relate, I apologize, but I'm also very envious for you. Maybe you get a perspective on what the American, life is like. For the customer, the cost is steadily increasing. Cost is increasing dramatically to buy the things that we used to buy. And our wages are not being inflated to catch up. So we are more dependent on the corporation for money and to get hours, and often have to work more hours, and possibly even multiple jobs. So now you have two corporations both sinking their teeth in, trying to drain your time and your energy so that you can get money, which is also being paid back largely to them. And now you can see in the framework, how that is a parasitic relationship, because it indeed is. But the thing is that anyone who has a career in a corporation at the higher level means that they have committed all of that time and effort and energy in exchange for the money. In other words, as the host, they have become fully infected by the parasite. It's like in nature, there's this ant who gets infected by a fungus, and it overtakes its mind, and all it does, its whole purpose, is to climb to the top of a large tree. From there, the fungus sprouts out of it, killing the ant, and mold spores fly down back to the forest floor, where the next ant catches it, and the cycle continues. It is exactly like this with a corporation, and the managers are the ants who are climbing up to the top of the tree, because they're already all in. They've signed all that humanity, agency, autonomy away to say, you give me the security of the money, and I will give you everything else. That is the pact they have agreed to be in that position where they are managing and leading you around. And that is something that no matter what smile or attitude or thing that is shown to you occurs, no matter what is presented to you, that is a reality. And it's a reality that is basically invariable. Very few people actually ride that line where they still keep who they are, because you go insane if you try to. You genuinely go insane as you see the corporation disregard its workers, disregard the customers, disregard everything that's under it, because all it cares about is sucking out that life, the money, profits. It does not matter what happens to the people. It's a parasitic organism. And the managers are the fully infected hosts that are trying to infect you. And just like with the ant, once it's controlled, it no longer lives the life the ant does. It is not trying to work alongside the colony. It doesn't want the colony to be healthy. It doesn't want it to be successful. All it's doing is climbing up that tree on its lonesome, so the spores can proliferate. They can spread across the ground and infect more of the worker ants, which you are. So where does this analogy really come into effect is the fact that your well-being is already X'd squared out of the equation, because it's a parasite. It does not care that you are being harmed. It does not care that bad things are happening to you because of the way it's, extracting the things of value from you that have made it latch onto you and infect you. It just cares that it's getting those things, and that it's getting more of them and more and more of them. And so the infected worker is also, who is the manager, is also fully committed to that goal of extraction at any expense, the maximum extraction with the least amount given back. It wants to become as parasitic as possible, and the host wants you, who is the manager, wants you to be fully infected. So what does this actually mean in a real world application? Now that we've, built this, set this scene, built this analogy. Well, what it looks like, there's a lot of social engineering that happens because they're trained this way. The parasite trains the host how to be effective at spreading it around. So it tells you if you climb to the top of the tree, you're going to be most effective at infecting the victims. So they understand social dynamics and how to execute them very well. They will lead you on. They will lie to you about anything that you want to hear that is going to make you as a person believe that the company is worth staying with, that it's worth dedicating this thing to the company, that you'll come in on that day off that you really did not want to or couldn't afford to, and still maintain some work-life balance. They'll seek to identify what you want. And, well, this is an important and good thing so that you can help move people along in their career however they want it. It immediately becomes misused because from the lens of the infected host, all that is a tool that they can use to manipulate you into giving what they want. So they'll say, oh, yeah, sure, we'll give you that schedule. We'll work on that schedule together with you. We'll give us some time. There will be some situations, but things don't always work out, but we're gonna work on a slow path progressively towards that exact thing that you want. Oh yeah, well, we can have you promoted in this window, and we're gonna start training you, and we're gonna give you this to get the job. How many times have you heard that? And then the days pass, the weeks pass, the months pass, and all of a sudden it's been a year, and because you have not escaped the job, you're still victimized in the situation. But so much time has passed that you literally give up because you understand that it's not going to happen. So you don't even protest, you don't even fuss. You just put your head down and you take the abuse. This is what happens. They try to break you in any way they can because what you wanted never mattered, and they are never going to expend the effort to give that to you unless you show to them that you are willing to get that little piece of infection that they can spread all the way across you. Until you show that and you allow it to happen to you and you give up who you are, it is just something you're not going to get. Nothing is something that you're going to get. You're not going to get anything. You're not going to get any of the things. You're not going to get the more hours. You're not going to get the full-time position that you were fighting for. You're not going to get the better schedule you were looking for. You're not going to get the consistent schedule you were looking for. You're not going to get that move to the other department. Because as long as you retain that autonomy and identity of yourself, it's just not going to happen because the parasite has not made its way in. And so it knows that you're not being extracted from. And so as long as you're not successfully in there, you're just the target. So it's always luring you. It's always presenting itself for you to take that bite. That carrot is always being dangled in front of you, but you will just be used down to the bone without ever being given the chance because you foolishly believed that they cared, that, oh, my manager would never do that to me, or maybe I have a new manager now and the old one was terrible. Maybe this guy will be different. Maybe she'll be different. Maybe she'll give me the better treatment that I thought that I desperately needed but didn't get for so long. No, it's not going to happen. And stop me, leave a comment if it's happened to you. Tell me if it's happened to you or someone because I've been the victim. I am the victim currently, and it's a big reason I'm making this right now. So many people around me have been the victims, and the thing is that all of them were really good people, and they had too much of their humanity not drained by the parasite. They did not become the empty husk, and so now they're all gone. They've all left, and I'm like the sole survivor because I'm looking for a different situation, but I haven't gotten into it yet. And any support to the channel is appreciated for that reason, among many others. But if you're in this position where a manager tells you something, you need to immediately treat anything, literally anything, when it comes to your job and your career. If it's coming from the mouth of a manager, you need to meet it with immediate and severe distrust and suspicion. And I'm not saying call them out on it, because if you start asking questions, And that's immediately how they know that, oh, this one's not going to be a good host. And the parasite passes off. It passes over you. And so you will get absolutely nothing guaranteed if that's how the way that you operate, the paradigm that you operate yourself in. But when you don't fight them in the moment because it is a losing battle. And that's one of the biggest things that I will also want to say is that, so okay, you don't trust the manager. Well, now what? That question is up to you. You need to understand that there is no reasoning with them. There is no talking with them. It's either going to happen or it's not. And so if you understand the time frame of in your company where things happen, so like maybe the promotion is this amount of time, or maybe the transfer is like this amount of time. If you notice that process is taking quite a while, and you've had like 2 or 3 talks about like, hey, how's this coming along? How's it, going to go? You need to, there's no more fighting to be done. You need to understand it's not going to happen, and you need to take the appropriate measures. Whatever those are, whether that's, different company, go to a different location, file a complaint with HR, depending on what it is, whatever that decision is, that's up to you. But the point is that you need to understand it, and you need to start making it, and you need to do it now. You don't need to wait tomorrow, the day after, because every time you wait, you are just going to be drained by the reality that it's not going to happen. That they understand either you're not a host or that they still need to keep working to get you to be a host. And it's probably both in one, because they'll be looking for, if you roll around, say, okay, bite me, and let's make this happen. And let me become the soulless husk that lies, misleads, and deceives the other ants to take those spores and to climb up the tree and do the same thing that I have. Because they'll tell you anything. They will say anything. And a lot of times they'll make it believable. They'll even make this faux reasoning, these false justifications or reasons for why this thing is that way or that, that thing is that way. And try to convince you to just accept the fact that they are just spinning what the host is telling them to do. Or not the host, what the parasite is telling them to do. Because that's all it is at the end of the day. No matter how convincing they've engineered it to sound. And see, the thing is, you'll be onto this a lot of the time, because a lot of the times they know that they're spewing the nonsense, but that is what they're paid to do. And so they're gonna do it. They're gonna call you out for something that you know you do well, indisputably, without exception. And they'll say, well, yeah, but in this area, don't you think you could be doing a little more there? And then they'll tell you absolutely anything from any angle, just totally shameless, without reservation or hesitation, to get you. It's all for that bite. To get the parasite in. It's whatever it takes, because that's how the parasite survives. It survives by finding and latching on to the host. So if you are willing to, give up your soul and, be that person, then yeah, those roles are for you, and, take the bite immediately and start seeking to infect others. But if you're somebody who, is not trying to concede that, not trying to crush, the lives of innocent people and their dreams underfoot, and making false promises and, continuing to drain people who are already at their wits' end in our society to the absolute bone, to where they're having breakdowns and episodes every night, then sure, be that. But if you're just the average person who is going insane under that paradigm, then hear this message well. Never trust your manager, and understand that it's all in your hands. The decisions are yours, and whatever happens in the company is already decided. There is no talking to the manager. After you initially bring it up and you have some follow-up, there's nothing more to be said, there's nothing more to be done, and you're only going to hurt and stress yourself out and damage your spot in that company by trying to resist that reality. Understand that it's all manufactured, it's all nonsense, it's all lies, all to get you to become the next host and make your decision accordingly. It's been Mel's Musings. Sorry for the, episode, but, I'm feeling the pressure myself quite intensely right now. So I was going to do a different one, but I think this is very timely and a good time for me to record it while those emotions are, impassioned. So I hope you're all having an amazing night. I hope that there's not a parasite overhead looming, trying to infect you. And if they are, understand that even though this is very depressing and it's very difficult to navigate as well, it was my first job. It still is my first job. I didn't know any better. I had no idea it was like this. It took me over 2 painful years to figure that out. But now that I have, I understand so much better what I need to do. And now it's just about doing it, because you can get out and it's something you can pursue. You should be pursuing. If you've even if you're in that early stage where you don't know this is going on and you probably have been infected, but you can still fight out that parasite. You can notice and start fighting it out. And the thing is that, because it doesn't want to leave, it wants to take more control and drain more from you. It's going to resist very violently. That's the stage I'm in right now. I've stopped the infection process. I'm trying the extraction process. Let me tell you, they make it an absolute living hell for you. But once you grab and once you start pulling, if you really pull that thing all the way out, how much better you will feel after is something I can't even describe. And how many people have attested to their life being so much better out after leaving that situation. So believe in yourself. Take these steps. Understand that you can do it. No matter the way that they've conditioned or engineered you as their leadership figure to make you believe otherwise, or make you believe it would be a terrible decision to do so. Oh no, you really don't want to do that. There's no good places left to go right now. That's not true when so many people are living the life that you envision right now as we speak. So start planning, start going for it, and just hang in there until you get that thing out. It's been Mel's Musings. Take care. Have an amazing one. 2011 Flex.